All right. Let's switch it up a little bit, guys. Let's do some MCU hot takes. So, we have, in this bowl in front of us, we have, I think about, I want to say around 8 to 10 hot takes.
Okay.
So we'll take turns, pick a hot take out, and then we're going to have to say whether we agree or disagree. So there are some agree, disagree cards. Flynn, I don't know. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Fabulous. Thank you, sir. Since you are the guest, would you like to pick out the first MCU hot take?
Hello, you. Right. First hot take is Tobey Maguire is overrated as Spider-Man. You're blinded by nostalgia.
We're gonna have a fight. We're gonna have a fight.
I agree with like most of that statement. Toby's not my Spider-Man. I didn't grow up with.
Who is your Spider-Man?
I'd probably say because
Andrew,
Tom.
But
I grew up with Andrew, but I even as a kid I didn't like those movies.
Yeah.
They were like some of the first movies which I watched, and I was like, these are just crap. But then it's only in like the past, I don't know, 5-6 years when I revisited the original Raimi trilogy. And
you're not a fan? Wow. Okay. So let me say my truth. Right. So I mean, Tobey was for me like, I mean, those films were such a huge part of my childhood. Yes, we are doubling down on the whole nostalgia theory here. So yes, of course there is a whole lot of nostalgia.
Elements of that.
Of course, as there is for a lot of people who grew up on those films. For me, I think whenever you look at sort of superhero adaptations, you've got to look at the world in which those films have created. So, for example, people often debate who's the best Batman. Is it Robert Pattinson? Is it Ben Affleck, etc.? I think Tobey Maguire is a great Spider-Man for the universe that Sam Raimi created. It's this kind of campy, but also serious, emulates so much of the comic book style. And in those films, Tobey Maguire works. He works. If you want to compare him to Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield in terms of comic accuracy and how Spider-Man's supposed to be in the comics, and whether you're judging him off that, then sure, of course, Andrew's probably going to be the most quippy. He's going to be the most true to who Spider-Man is in the comics, and Tom, you could say, as most people have the best of both. I would say, but Tobey, for me, you take him out of context of those films. Yeah, you could say that he's not so
weird.
great. Exactly.
I just he's never one that I've like. When I read a Spider-Man comic, I always think, who am I reading this character as? Like where am I putting him? And it's never like Tobey Maguire's voice that I hear when I'm reading a comic book. It's never like him that I'm imagining in these scenarios, if you get what I mean. He doesn't feel like everybody puts those movies on somewhat of a pedestal, and rightly so in some regards. Like I do think that everything is kind of owed to those films. The X-Men movies, like everything is owed to them. But I don't know. I could beat up Tobey Maguire. Like I'm not being. You look at Tobey Maguire, and I'm like, I'm a skinny guy, and I could probably beat up Tobey Maguire. And his Spider-Man is just like, I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. But that train sequence is pretty cool.
The train sequence is amazing. I still think
like that's Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man, that's Spider-Man. But in like the first film and like the third film, I just don't know.
I mean, the first film he's kind of, he's sort of finding his feet, and then the third film he's Bully Maguire.
Yeah.
But I think fundamentally, Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire, mostly Sam Raimi, I would attribute this to, but I think Spider-Man 2 nails that duality of Spider-Man. I've said it so many times before, but like I still think Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man film. I know that's like, considering the Spider-Verse films have come out, etc. Could be a hot take, but I think in the context of those films, it's like if you compared Christian Bale's Batman to Robert Pattinson's Batman or Ben Affleck's Batman. Of course, Ben Affleck's Batman might be more comic book accurate Batman, the Batman we know from the comics, but Bale's Batman works in the Nolan universe. Like he works in that context. If you take him out of that, it's just not going to be the same. But hey. There we go.
What's life without a bit of disagreement?
There we go.
Exactly. Right, your turn.
I will get out the next hot take. Okay. Okay. The Eternals was a good movie. It gets too much hate. I'm in the middle.
It's a poor movie. I think to be honest, I have only seen it once, and that was in cinemas when it came out. and it bored me rigid. It was the dullest thing I have had to sit through, and I think it would have been a brilliant TV series.
That's a good take. I
think it would have worked so well.
Yeah.
Because it's got that episodic like of the different time period. I mean, it would have been an expensive ass TV show, but like it's got that feeling of episodic. But I don't want to be sat there for, it was like 3 hours and 20 or something. It was such a long film.
Yeah.
And I'm not adverse to a long film, but a film that's like well paced and got compelling characters. But like, there's 8 of them or 7 of them or something. Yeah. I think I can name like 2.
Yeah,
like, it's not memorable. Well, Marvel knows it's not memorable because they've never come up again.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
mention is the Brave New World.
Yes, the Celestial
thing, and that's all that we've taken from that like multi-million-dollar blowout. Then like. Come on.
Yeah, I actually quite like the film. This is not to me to say that I don't like the film. I actually quite like the film, but I think if you watch the film as almost this film about like kind of Greek gods, if you want to say, as opposed to superhero films or fitting into the Marvel kind of universe, I would say it works much better with that kind of mentality going into it.
Yeah.
But I do think the film has a lot of problems. I think, like you said, like it's paced poorly. I think visually, we had Chloe Zhao, who just came off the back of winning like Best Director at the Oscars and stuff, and I was so excited to see like
what was that for?
That was for Nomadland, which is by no means anyone's favorite Best Picture winner ever. But I was excited to see a more kind of indie approach to it, and I just think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. I'm not begging to come back to those characters.
I don't think that's the project to try out this new indie kind of like. I think if they wanted to get like a new director with a new visual style and kind of a new unique approach, like probably try something that doesn't span 10,000.
Yeah.
Like maybe go a bit more character. In internal.
Smaller scale.
Internal instead of eternal.
Oh, that's the second one of the day.
There we are.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine is the worst Deadpool movie. Really? The worst?
I think it's the worst Deadpool. Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah.
Wow, okay.
I think Deadpool 1 and 2. I mean, if you're not counting Origins Wolverine, let's not count that, but I think Deadpool 1 and 2 are better than Deadpool and Wolverine. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was a great first watch. But
it doesn't hold up that well. But like, I think Deadpool 1 holds up well. Like the shtick, when you do a watch through, the shtick hasn't gotten old. Then the whole, I've got a. Can you swear on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Like, I've got a penis in my mouth, and like, oh my god, like I'm gonna fuck Wolverine. Like, all of this shit, like the kind of like. All of that jokes hasn't gotten quite so old at that point, and I think 1 has a lot of heart. I like Wade's arc, like I get it. 2 doesn't really do anything for me.
Okay.
Like I think it's perfectly fine. It would go 1, 3, 2 for me. I'm not one to put Deadpool and Wolverine on a pedestal because of like, oh my god, Blade, but like 1 is definitely the best, I'd say.
Oh yeah, that clears. Yeah.
I'd say that's like easily a 7, 8 out of 10.
For me, I just think Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't really have a plot. I just think that when I saw it for a second time because a friend of mine hadn't seen it, and he was like, "Oh, Dylan, please can we?" I was like, "Fine, okay, cool." Watched it, and there was such a drop in quality from my first experience to the second experience. So for me, like if you don't hold up as a film, and even Deadpool 2, I don't really love as much as the first, but I think it still has. There is still an arc there. There is still somewhat of a story there and characters who have got their own sort of things going on, whereas Deadpool and Wolverine is a fan service film for the sake of it, which is why it's so much fun on the first watch, but then over time the sugar rush kind of just
No Way Home did the same thing for me.
Well, No Way Home does it a little bit.
It's not as bad as Deadpool and Wolverine because No Way Home does actually have quite a lot of heart.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
And like Deadpool and Wolverine does have some heart, but I'm not really forgiving it for bringing Hugh back. I kind of wish they didn't do that. But anyway.
There you go.
Right.
The hallway fight in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the best fight in the MCU.
Oh.
It's close.
I'm leaving.
Okay.
Nothing's springing to mind that beats it. The only thing that comes close is like portals, but that doesn't really count. I don't think. I think
that's more of like a huge kind of.
Yeah, it's not the fight that.
Yeah.
About what do you think?
So for me, I think my favorite fight in the entire MCU is just the highway fight in the Winter Soldier. I think.
Oh really?
Absolutely. I think it is so. It's like the closest thing I like. If you want to talk about real action, like you can feel every punch and kick, and it's like the two of them, Winter Soldier and Captain America, going at it before Cap knows it's Bucky, and it's like I implore you to go watch that fight again and just see how.
There's a great knife drop.
It's so creative. The stunts work really well. I think a lot of the fights in Shang-Chi are fantastic. Of course, like the fact that
the bus and
the bus fight is incredible. I think Guardians 3. Oh, also Daredevil. If you're counting that as well, I think a lot of the fights in Daredevil, like the hallway fight in Daredevil, was fucking amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
But I do think Guardians. This is definitely up there for sure.
Yeah, I think.
In terms of like pure creativity,
it's brilliant. And it's the music great as well. And I love seeing each of them use their like powers or just their strengths in unique ways. Like when Nebula's like breaking apart.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Brilliant. It's great. After you, sir.
Black Widow had a pointless and forced relationship with Bruce. Is that a hot take? Is that a hot? I mean, what?
Amy would say otherwise. Amy would say otherwise. No. Sorry. Amy prefers Natasha and Steve over Natasha and Bruce. I think that was what I clarified. But yes.
What? Where does that even? It's like brought up in what?
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, and then
just never.
I pretty much never mentioned again.
Yeah, I think. That does. Looking back, it does seem very pointless because it was just confined to that one film and they didn't really do much after that. They kind of just sort of just continuously switch things up with Natasha, but also I do kind of see what they were kind of going for. Like these are the two Avengers who are the most kind of sort of lonely and disillusioned, I would say, in that film, and they try and kind of find each other. Bit like Thunderbolts, a little bit like Thunderbolts. But yeah, I mean,
there's other ways to do that.
Yeah,
like if it was just like a friendship or like they just had a connection. Yeah, that's fine. But now you're wondering, like it's never really brought. I think there might be a few passing remarks in like Infinity War and
maybe. Yeah,
but if you watch those films, thinking that they were really good friends. It's like the same thing. But
also looking back on it, like there's a moment where like the Ultron bots are flying through Stark Tower and attacking, and then like Bruce falls on top of Natasha. I don't remember that, and it kind of sticks out a bit. I don't know. It's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's any need for Natasha to have a romantic interest at all.
Exactly. Good point.
I don't know what it gives her character. So yeah, I think we're in agreement for that one. Absolutely.
Is that the first one we've agreed on?
I think so. Could be.
Okay. Thor and Jane had the best love story in the MCU.
Oh.
I want to disagree, but I'm really trying to think of... Oh, no.
Gamora and Star-Lord.
Yeah, Gamora and Star-Lord, yeah.
That is the, like... I love the trope of, like, people that get together and, like, in the past... and then kind of realize that the best thing for them to do, if they want to achieve their own things and achieve their goals, the only way for them to do that is apart. Like, it's heartbreaking. It's like the La La Land thing. It's the past lives thing. These are two of my favorite movies. And they did a similar type trope in Guardians 3. And I absolutely loved that. What I will say is that I wish we got James Gunn's full vision for the Gamora character. Because I think it's quite obvious that her dying in
Infinity War?
Infinity War, yeah. Her dying, like 616 Gamora dying in Infinity War, like it clearly wasn't his plan. So then, I don't know, it just would have been cool to see how he handled the end of that relationship. But definitely. I think that's the best one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm really trying to think of others.
Tony and Pepper.
Yeah, Tony and Pepper. Especially in that first film when they're not quite together, but there is something.
Yeah, I mean that's really cute.
Yeah.
It's not as compelling.
No.
Paul Rudd and Evangeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
it's quite sweet. Gosh,
God.
it's romance in the MCU. I just think like Love and Thunder just leaves a sour taste, and like Thor and Jane it's.
Also, I'm not watching the Thor movies
for the love story.
Love story. I'm watching it because like myths. And, and even then, like both of those the first two movies are pretty boring.
I think Gamora and Star-Lord seem to be a clear winner here.
Yeah, I agree.
Do let us know if we've forgotten anyone. Yeah,
there might be something glaringly obvious. I don't think they're Cap and Peggy.
Yeah.
But that's in one film.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
I will say the I Had a Date. That's a great post-credit scene in the Captain America: The First Avenger. Pretty forgettable movie. Brilliant post-credit scene.
Yes.
When he's like in the shield.
Yes.
Running through Times Square, and then Nick Fury's.
Had a date. Yeah.
You gonna be okay, Cap? I had a date.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that's a great line.
Even in Endgame, when he goes back in time and he sees Peggy, just like that, it's so sad. Like he can't go there. It's just it's.
No, I think that's probably.
And then he does go there. But yeah. There you go. I think it's you. I think it's the last one. The last hot take.
Are we gonna argue? Ultron needs to come back. He wasn't terrifying enough.
Okay, needs to come back.
Needs to come
back. Needs to come back. I don't know.
I don't know about.
I don't know. Needs to come back.
About needs to come back. There's certain arcs in the MCU which I think would have benefited from, like the current, like the Endgame collective, like Civil War. If they did Civil War again. Like, if they did Civil War with the lineup that they had on Endgame, like, that would have been phenomenal. And we're always talking about where they could possibly go post-Doomsday, originally Kang Dynasty. And I thought Civil War would have been a brilliant place to, like, end up. In regards to bringing Ultron back, I think it would have been cool to do it with, like, Hank Pym. Like I think that would have been.
Yeah, that 100%. I think the thing is, the need for Ultron stems from Hank Pym and Tony. Like, if you don't have those characters to have the groundwork there, I don't know. But they have already kind of established him, and I think that's the kind of general problem I have with big, like you said, big MCU villains, and they get confined to one film and they're just the one and done.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've seen What If. I've watched the first season of What If.
And that's cool.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
They make him such a better presence in that.
Yeah.
He's quite terrifying.
I really like What If.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date.
Same.
But as like these little individual vignette things.
Yeah.
Some of them are a bit forgettable, but like I think they're really good.
Yeah.
And I tell you what is one of the best things that Marvel TV have done is that one episode of Doctor Strange. It's in the first season. You know when
the zombies? No, not the zombies.
The one where he's like trying to save.
Yes.
I think
brilliant.
That episode is phenomenal.
It's so.
It's like it's like destroying his own universe to try and save her life with the time stone, and he can't do it or whatever. Honestly, I thought that was phenomenal when I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, I think What If is quite sort of underrated in some regards.
Yeah.
I think not a lot of people have seen it, but I think it's such a cool and fun opportunity to just tell these one-off stories that they ask the question, what if? Again, pun.
Yeah. What if?
That sort of satisfy comic book fans.
Yeah.
But also,
well, it gives new lives to characters,
exactly
and everything. And I think if people are after more from the characters that they, maybe didn't get their right treatment when they were in the MCU, can go and hopefully find something in What If. Like even that Hank Pym episode, I thought was quite cool, where he's like trying to kill the Avengers or something. I think that was quite neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Takeaway from that question is What If's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all the MCU hot takes that we have for this round.